The Browns, listen, it was a miracle they won 11 games last year.
Wasn't a
miracle? Yes, it was a miracle. It was a miracle.
Defense was elite.
I don't say that to slight them. I say that
miracle
Miracle does feel like
it was a miracle.
Me and Dels actively hated on the Browns. We were definitely calling them the Mickey Mouse team of the bunch. We were validated when the Texans went out there and absolutely lit their ass on fire.
They were home fucking merchants. Because on the road, that defense was super, super mid.
What I'm saying, it was a miracle. They lost Nick Chubb. Multiple quarterback changes throughout the season. Deshaun started the season. Then he got hurt. Dorian Thompson-Robinson played.
DTR.
And DTR played. Deshaun came back. I think then P.J. Walker played when he went down. Then Joe Flacco came. They had 5+ quarterback changes, man. And they were the 5th most injured offensive line. This team's ceiling is high because of how elite their defense is. This defense ranked first on non-sack EPA, the best since 2019 Patriots, and the 5th best since 2000. This is a Super Bowl caliber defense. It's just the fact that they don't have a quarterback that we trust that can actually maximize this roster. Because I think if the Browns, if they had on their team, Kyler Murray, I think if they had Kyler Murray, I think this is a Super Bowl team.
If they had Kyler, we're talking about the best team in the league. Tua, you're telling me they're really not a top 5 team in the league?
Nah, not gonna move me. Sorry,
Yes, the plane.
You're not gonna move me.
Yes, the plane.
You're not gonna move me with Tua.
Now, y'all forget it. You know what? Never mind.
He has to play in Cleveland.
Never mind.
Listen,
but this is the thing.
Cleveland's not Miami.
And I wanted to get to this because they got pressure on 2.5 seconds or less at the second highest rate.
You better hope the Jets fucking do something. I swear to God, I'm gonna be such a fucking hater.
The Dolphins gonna win a playoff game.
I fucking hate. Are the Jets gonna make it?
Yes,
I don't know. We've won one prior than you.
Come on, yes we are.
Have you?
2010. Dolphins haven't won since 2000.
They have not. They have
really?
Not.
Yeah.
No, they have.
We have the longest drought. The Dolphins have made it. They just lost. But win drought is
because they lost when Tannehill led them, but Matt Moore played. Versus the Steelers, they lost.
I felt like the Jets were always last on that. Maybe it's making playoffs.
Yeah,
it is making the playoffs. It's not winning a playoff
wins. Facts.
So
they're probably second last. Though.
We all know they lost Nick Chubb, and earlier, Drew, you mentioned Jerome Ford. And how Jerome Ford was pretty solid for the Browns. I thought he got a lot of volume, but Jerome Ford was stuffed for 0 or negative yards on a league worst 27.5% of his carries last year. I think I can project Nick Chubb is going to at least come back to some form of himself. And the Browns did get some luck. They went 5-0 in games decided by a field goal or less, 6-2 in one possession games. That type of just winning is not going to happen on a year-to-year basis. But I want to get to Deshaun Watson because we know this team was make or break without him. Deshaun Watson, last year, he was 39th in EPA with no pressure, 36th in the pocket, 47th with no play action on early downs, 43rd outside the red zone, 42nd outside the pocket, 37th with play action. Joe Flacco was first outside the pocket. He was 12th using play action, just to put some numbers in perspective. But Joe Flacco was actually just as bad as Deshaun and like all the other stuff. He was just really outlierly good outside the pocket and using play action. Deshaun Watson is legitimately one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And yes, people are going to sell themselves on glimpses that we've seen in games like the second half against the Ravens where he had 11 straight completions, but I don't see it, and I don't think it's sustainable, and I just really have a tough time buying into the idea that Deshaun Watson is good now.
It's crazy, the fall off of Deshaun Watson, because a few years ago we were talking about one of the most talented quarterbacks in the game, period, and now we're talking about a guy who may be a bottom 5 QB in the game, bottom 6 QB in the game.
That shit.
And it's crazy. I don't know how to. It's really hard to talk about Deshaun Watson at this point in time, but strictly talking about his football play, it really makes. I guess you can make sense of it where you miss a full season, a year and a half of football, and some people come back and make it look easy. I mean, I think of like a Michael Vick where he was gone for 3 years, came back, and was an MVP candidate. When you have the talent that Deshaun Watson did once possess, to me, that's kind of why I felt comfortable that he could come to the Cleveland Browns and be great again, but we failed to see that. That's kind of why I've fallen off on the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. If you don't have a high-level quarterback, or good quarterback play, I should say, at the minimum, you're not going to be successful come playoff time. And we saw it versus the Texans, where you mentioned Joe Flacco had really strong moments throughout the last part of the season. He was not that great against the Texans, and they got absolutely obliterated. So if Deshaun Watson can come in and be average to good I'm with you, Riv. I think that they can reach their ceiling that you believe that they do have. But to me, right now, I can't trust that.
Do you even know what the ceiling is?
To me, their ceiling is a wild card.
That's the ceiling?
That's their ceiling.
The farthest they can get?
They can make it to the playoffs and lose in the wild card.
So that's the farthest you see them go?
I don't see them winning a playoff game. They got absolutely smoked by a rookie.
This is what I'm confused about. And correct me if I'm wrong. You just mentioned how you don't see them being a top 10 team because when it comes playoff time, they don't get good quarterback play, correct?
Give or take a few words.
Cool. So why is Miami top 10?
Because they're better.
I just don't understand.
Their roster's not better.
Their roster isn't even close to Cleveland's.
Offensively?
Offensive line,
Nick Chubb, offensive line, tight end.
Nick Chubb is, again.
Nick Chubb on 80%.
Dolphins have receivers and running backs and quarterback.
Raheem Mostert just had 20 touchdowns. Devon Achane is one of the
Nick
most.
Chubb coming off that injury, bro. I think Achane/Mostert's going to be better. They're going to be more efficient for sure.
I don't know if I'm counting on
until you
Nick Chubb
see
like
it.
that.
Sure. I mean, you're projecting.
Tua is better than Deshaun.
That backfield is going to be the most efficient backfield in the NFL.
Tua is better than Deshaun. Not even a conversation right now.
Not a conversation. They both don't show up in primetime games.
Even if Nick Chubb is better, that is going to be probably the most efficient backfield in football because it's just what they do.
I agree.
Well, the separator really is the defense because
the defense is
it's not even the separator.
The Browns' defensive line clears, and you're talking about Jalen Ramsey.
When they both play top teams, which offense looks better? You don't even know. I mean, so you tell me about this efficiency and how they're going to be this.
I know that's
it
fair.
doesn't
I was
matter.
Just saying, running back for running back. I think.
And then defense is a wiping.
Denzel Ward and Jalen Ramsey is legitimately a conversation right now today.
I agree.
And then
why are we disrespecting Jalen?
It's not disrespect. It's just Denzel Ward just got paid big time money. He's a Pro Bowler.
Jalen Ramsey's been one of the best we've ever seen.
I mean, yes, but he's not his prime self right now. He's dropping off.
One of them dudes.
Still was pretty great last year. That's why I don't understand this drop off.
And then they got Kendall Fuller, which was a great signing.
Martin Emerson,
I think Martin Emerson and then Greg
really
Newsome.
nice.
I like
Miles Garrett is better than everybody on your defensive lineman combined.
Their linebackers are better. The Browns
Darius
are.
Smith is still good.
Who are their linebackers? Anthony Walker,
Jeremiah Wilson-Karamal.
Facts.
Okay, yeah. He's a Pro Bowler. He's really good. He's a stud.
He's great.
Anthony Walker, I think, is like on his third team now. I don't know where he's at.
So he's not, but he used to play for the Browns.
He used to, yeah.
Got it.
Javon Holland is kind of like the chess piece that the Dolphins have. That there's nobody at safety the Browns have that's as good as him.
And Jordan Poyer, although not as great as he once was, that's still an awesome signing.
I just feel like the Dolphins are counting a lot on older players and.
Like who?
The NFL is a young man's league. I mean, you just mentioned Jordan Poyer is just starting safety alongside Javon Holland.
At safety, you could be old. Like Kareem Jackson's old as shit. I saw him play high-level football.
Kendall Fuller's 29 years old. He might turn 30 soon. I think he does turn 30 soon.
But Stephon Gilmore last year, although we're talking about
Jalen Ramsey,
the amazing player.
Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, we're talking about dogs, and we're not talking about regular players.
And Jalen Ramsey's
Armstead's my biggest fear of the Dolphins. By far. Outside of cold weather Dolphins.
None of these dudes
cold weather Dolphins is a genuine fear, but Teron Armstead staying on the field is a concern.
I think both of these teams, I think winning a playoff game is probably their ceiling. I think I just trust Cleveland a bit more because I think talking about January football and a tough matchup, I like my odds with possibly the best defense in football.
They were in a warm weather environment in Houston and got bent over.
Well, I think
that's why I said more often than not, you're going to be playing outdoors in the AFC.
And that was your chance to win a playoff game against a young team in Houston, and you got smoked.
No, you just mentioned the
You're right.
Listen, if it's
Miami choked the division away.
They did.
We did, but then also went up against the team that won the Super Bowl.
Bad.
We won against the team that won the Super Bowl.
You lost.
Yeah, I got it.
You looked abysmal.
I got it.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
The coldest game that we've seen in years.
That's the problem.
Listen, I will
Most
say
games are going to be
People
cold.
lost their fingers.
I will say,
was the Buffalo game cold? That cold?
Which one?
The one you lost. Well, you lost both. The late one. The one
The late
that
one was in
division.
Miami.
Week 18.
Week 18.
That was in Miami.
So you lost that game.
Yeah, no, it was.
So you lost the hot game.
Wow.
The Baltimore loss. That was warm weather too.
It was like a 1 o'clock. Yeah.
The Dolphins defense.
Maybe it was cold, but it wasn't like.
If I have to pick one team between the Dolphins and the Browns to go on a deep playoff run, it would be the Browns.